Camera shut off. It just shut off. And there's the ball again. Look, there's only one, dude. There's only one left. No, there's two. I'm sorry. There's two. Okay. That's my way out. Sorry that something just moved up there. That was so weird. Anything you guys want to say to us, say it now or forever hold your peace. What was that? Oh, okay. Okay.
Lethal.
Lethal? Listen. What is that? Oh my god. Okay. Okay, go.
Alright, I need you to imagine something for a second. You're alone, it's quiet, and then you see something that makes you stop instantly. Tonight, we're talking about 7 mythical creatures that have made people freeze in their tracks. Stay with us. These stories get really interesting. Welcome back to Scary Encounters. You already know the vibe here. We take the wildest moments caught on camera and break them down in a way that actually feels like you're there with them. And yeah, this first story is a great example of how something small can slowly turn into something people can't stop talking about. Realize TV is all about strange cryptid sightings from around the world. The footage comes from a trail camera set up deep in the woods for simple wildlife monitoring, so nothing about it is staged. When the clip begins, it honestly feels like any normal nature recording. A few elk are calmly moving through the area, completely relaxed in their surroundings. If you were watching this without context, you would probably assume it was just another peaceful forest moment. As the clip continues though, your attention naturally starts to wander beyond the elk and a little deeper into the background. Nothing about it feels loud or sudden, and the animals don't react in a way that clearly tells you something's wrong. It's just this quiet presence that slowly starts to stand out, and the longer you watch, the harder it becomes to ignore. I won't spell it out too early because this is one of those clips where it's better if you notice it for yourself. Just keep your eyes moving across the entire frame instead of staying locked on the elk in front. The moment is easy to miss if you aren't paying attention. What makes this footage so interesting isn't chaos or action. It's the way something in the background seems carefully positioned, almost like it's aware of where it stands. At one point, there's this tiny little movement, and honestly, it almost feels on purpose. It's small, but that's the part that gets everyone talking. The elk remain calm, the forest stays quiet, and the camera continues recording without interruption, which somehow makes the background feel even more noticeable. People have shared all kinds of thoughts about what they think they're seeing, and that's honestly what makes trail camera footage so interesting. It catches real, unscripted moments and just leaves the rest up to us to figure out. So as you watch this one, take your time with it. Let the clip unfold naturally, and then tell me what stands out to you. This next one comes from the YouTube channel NVTV, and what makes it interesting isn't big reactions or anything extreme. It's just the way everything slowly starts to feel a little different. It starts at night near a parked vehicle, and at first it feels like just a normal recording. Then something shifts and breaks that calm feeling. The person filming suddenly sounds confused, like something happened that he didn't see coming. You can hear it in his voice while he tries to make sense of what's around him. He slowly moves the camera through the dark, focusing on one spot ahead, trying to figure out what he's actually looking at.
Camera shut off. It just shut off. And there's the ball again. Look, there's only one, dude. There's only one left. No, there's two. I'm sorry. There's two. Okay. That's my way out. What is that? Do you see it? It's redder than red, and it's...
I won't describe what appears on screen because this is one of those clips where the reveal works better if you notice it yourself. Just pay attention to how his tone changes. He keeps asking questions out loud, almost like he needs someone else to confirm what he's seeing. There's a moment where he steps back toward his vehicle, and you can hear that he's no longer comfortable standing there.
Dogs around my car. Well, here's one, like scratchy scratches, but maybe, I don't know. It's dirty, I gotta get it washed, but I don't know where to even start looking, dude. Oh God. Alright, guys. I'm gonna pack up and...
Later on, the footage shifts to an evening walk in the woods with a father and his son. At first, they're just walking and chatting like anyone out exploring a trail. After a bit, their pace starts to slow, and they keep glancing off to one side, almost like something down the slope quietly grabbed their attention. They don't rush, they don't overreact, they just become more careful with each step.
Me and my son are getting the strange feeling like we shouldn't go any more past that log and that bowed tree. There seems to be something walking down to our right, down in the valley. There's multiple tree breaks everywhere, as you can see. And I am gonna heed everybody's advice. Get out of here. There's eye shine down there.
When a reflection appears deeper in the brush, they try to hold their light steady and focus on that exact spot. The father points things out quietly, guiding his son's attention, and you can hear that he wants to be sure before saying anything certain. As they continue along the trail, they start noticing objects placed high up in trees nearby. Instead of jumping to conclusions, they examine them closely and talk through what might explain it.
Okay, my son picked out the trash up in the tree. Don is reaching up and he still has another 3-4 foot to reach to it. Let me roll in here. Yeah, I would say that's about what? 10 to 12? 10 to 12 foot up. Looks like a beer can. And it's wedged into a branch. It's stabbed with a branch. Let me pan in so you can see this. There, you can probably see better there.
And I told Tony I once found 5 of those in a row.
Wow.
And we found the second one that we're going to show you next.
That's what makes this one worth watching. The reactions feel real. The pacing feels natural. So as you watch, focus on how they respond more than what they claim. Then tell me, what do you think is really going on there? Now hold your heart for this one, because this story stays with you in a quiet way. It comes from the Travel Channel, and what Emilio shares isn't something that faded over time. It began when he was young and followed him into adulthood, sitting in the back of his mind for years. He remembers being at his family's cabin early one morning when something small caught his attention outside. At first, there was no reason to feel worried. It was a familiar place, a place filled with normal routines and simple moments. But as he stood there listening, a feeling started to grow that he couldn't fully explain. It wasn't loud or sudden. It was the kind of awareness that makes you pause and focus.
There was a fog, like a low mist hovering over the ground a little bit. But I couldn't see anyone. But then I saw this thing, and he was standing off in the distance. It was maybe about 50 yards or so. It was just standing there, and the best I can describe it is the guy who had deer legs and the face. It looked like someone wearing a hollowed out deer skull.
He talks about how quickly that calm moment changed for him. Something outside made him question what he thought he understood, and for the first time, he felt unsure, inside a place that had always felt safe. The choice he faced in that moment may seem simple from the outside, but when you're standing there alone, trying to decide whether to act or stay still, it feels much heavier. He chose to trust his instinct.
It sounded like someone recorded my mom's voice and played it backwards. It happened within the blink of an eye, from trying to casually open the door to it kind of kicking and punching at the door. I didn't open the door because there was no way that that was my mom. It was the creature with the deer head. They said that they didn't see anything. They didn't hear anything while they were down at the lake. They didn't hear anything walking up.
Years went by and life kept moving. He tried to tuck the memory somewhere far in the back of his mind, the way we all do with things that never really made sense. It would cross his thoughts now and then, maybe around a campfire or while sharing stories with friends, but he never thought he'd ever run into something like that again.
For years, I questioned what I saw a lot. It would come up, every now and then when we're sitting around campfires or hanging out with friends. But it wasn't always on my mind until the second time that I saw it.
Then one day, while hiking alone high in the mountains, that same feeling came back. The trail was calm and open, the kind of place where every small sound stands out. As he walked, something shifted inside him and that quiet awareness settled in again. It wasn't even about what he saw at first, it was the way his body reacted before his mind had time to catch up.
I was just hiking along the trail, just enjoying the scenery. I could hear birds singing in the distance, I can hear the wind, bugs, crickets. Then it got quiet. There wasn't any bird singing, there wasn't any bugs, there was nothing. I started feeling really anxious. It seemed like someone was watching me.
He slowed down and looked around more carefully, realizing that the past had stepped back into the present. What makes this story so powerful is not just what appears in the footage, but the connection between two moments separated by years. As you watch, pay attention to how he describes the feeling that links both experiences together.
I saw something standing off to the side. I thought maybe some crazy up in the woods of Montana playing jokes on people. I've seen deer, elk, moose, all that, and it wasn't anything like that. I saw what looked to be the creature again.
Sometimes the strongest part of a story isn't the image itself, but the memory that refuses to stay behind. Alright, let me tell you this one the way you tell it to a friend. So Gerber goes back into this patch of woods that already gave him a reason to think twice. A few weeks earlier, he and his buddy heard something out there at night that neither of them could really explain. And instead of brushing it off, they decide to return in the daytime to walk the same area and see if anything stands out.
And we're back. This forest here, we was just at like a couple weeks ago. And there was the craziest sound came from the forest. It was nighttime, so we couldn't see what it was. But one of the craziest sounds I ever heard coming from the forest came from right here. What do you think that sounded like?
I don't know, it was wild.
Wild, man. Somebody put in the comments like Goat Man.
At first, it honestly feels like a normal winter hike. They're talking, stepping through the snow, pointing out little things along the way. It's calm, but you can tell they're not just wandering around for fun. They're paying attention. They're listening a little harder than usual.
But as you can see, there are some deer around here. There's what? There's a bed. Bed. So we do have deer.
A goose.
That was a goose.
Was it?
I think so. It sounded a little weird though at first. Whoop! Whoop!
Bigfoot's coming to eat you.
Then, once they're deeper in the trees, something makes them both stop at the exact same moment. It's small, but you notice it right away. They turn their heads in the same direction, like they both picked up on the same sound. No one panics, no one raises their voice. They just stand there quietly, listening, almost waiting, trying to decide whether it was just the woods settling around them or something that noticed them back.
That's crazy, man. We just got a freaking knock already. It's not even nighttime. Can you see anything, any silhouettes back there, P? Where are you? You did the Skinwalker call.
A little later, from that same side of the woods, it happens again. That's when the mood really changes. The jokes fade out. Their steps slow down. Now it feels less like exploring and more like trying to understand what's around them.
Oh, there's something back in the tree. So there's more stuff back in the trees. There's no trail to it, but there's stuff back there. Whoa! I know. Alright, keep your guys' eyes out for...
And then they find something in the snow that shifts everything.
Look at the span for that next one. You would have to be so freaking big, man. Look at that. And my foot's tiny in that thing. Look, heel mark right here. Look, camera down there. Heel mark, toe mark. Boom, boom. These smokes, man. B.
Yeah, them are tracks, man.
We got Bigfoot tracks. Those are definitely big feet tracks, man.
Jer kneels down and places his boot beside one of the impressions they spot, and you don't need anyone to explain it. The size difference says enough. What really gets them, though, is the distance between each step. It's wide, wider than you'd expect. They start following the trail carefully, almost like they're walking through someone else's path. As they move forward, they notice another set of impressions nearby that appear smaller but heading in the same direction, and that detail alone makes the situation feel bigger than it did a minute ago.
That is something, man. Something big, too, and they're almost all the same. It looks like a foot.
That's a fact.
It's narrow. Those are feet print. Those are so big, man.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
You found a new girlfriend, maybe.
Oh, my goodness. We found Bigfoot. We found Bigfoot tracks.
They keep tracking as the light starts fading, and at one point, the trail just stops making sense. It doesn't slowly disappear. It's just not there anymore. That leaves them scanning the trees and the swampy ground, trying to figure out where something that large could have gone.
What?
What is that? A stick just in the ground?
Just a stick put in the ground, like a walking stick, huh? What is that thing? Is there something there?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know, so I'll go over to it.
Hold on, look. I'm gonna take his stick and knock with it. We were following. This was the direction it was going. So, interesting. Well, let's go back, see where they came from, maybe.
Later on, Jer spots a dark shape deeper in the woods. The flashlight doesn't reach far enough to confirm anything, but his reaction tells you it wasn't nothing. By the time they head back, they've heard more than one unexplained knock, followed prints that don't match the usual wildlife patterns, and walk through spots that feel recently used. So what do you think? Are they reading too much into it? Or did they walk into territory that isn't as empty as it looks?
Perfect ending to the night would be hearing that crazy frickin' goat man. Wow, look at all the bedding that happened here.
Yeah.
That is a huge bed. Deers or goat man? I'm gonna say deer. Although, you know what's weird? There is not like a lot of tracks for all that.
And if you're still here with us, stay active and keep watching closely. We've got more stories coming, and trust me, they only get more interesting from here. This one comes from YouTuber Chris Baird, and if you've watched him before, you already know he doesn't pick easy locations. He and Jasko head back into Skinwalker Forest, a place that already carries stories, rumors, and that quiet tension you can almost feel before you even step out of the vehicle.
So we've been down here, we just filmed for about 30 minutes. We went down this same trail we're about to go down right now. Sirens, lots of sirens. We're desolate, deep in a forest. There's, to my knowledge, there might be like a tiny town, like a few miles outside, but...
From the start, it doesn't feel relaxed. They try to keep things light, joking with each other the way friends do when they're a little uneasy. And honestly, that part feels real. You've probably done that too, laughed a little louder than normal just to push back the nerves. But underneath the jokes, you can tell they're listening closely to everything around them.
If we get on the trail, will we find skinwalkers?
Taking shot.
Taking shot? Is there anything to worry about tonight in the forest? Skinwalker, I just said Skinwalker. Just said it. In the cabin. Right there, right? Yeah.
It's the kind of night where small things start to matter. A sound behind you, a shift in the trees, that split second where you stop walking and both look at each other without saying anything. Have you ever had that moment where your brain says, it's probably nothing, but your gut says, pay attention? That's the energy building here.
Turn my spirit box on, guys, sorry. How do you explain that? It's literally all around us.
I'm sorry, but those tree branches right there, or sticks to your right, they don't look natural.
Deep in the forest, you don't expect that sound to carry on the way it does. It doesn't prove anything, but it adds pressure. It makes the whole place feel connected to something bigger happening beyond the trees, and that alone is enough to make you stand a little straighter.
What the f? That was like a growl or something?
Okay.
We can't give up now, right?
4 more miles to go.
We're doing good.
Technically.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pierce.
But in a place like this, even small objects start to feel meaningful. When it goes missing, it shifts the mood. Not because of the rock itself, but because it adds one more strange detail to a night that already feels crowded with them.
Sorry that something just moved up there. That was so weird. Anything you guys want to say to us, say it now or forever hold your peace. What was that?
Okay. Okay. Lethal?
Grenades just thrown over the tree.
That would suck so bad.
What do you even do at that point?
Wait, Chris, listen. Listen. What is that? Oh my god. Okay. Go.
As they move deeper, the tension builds in a steady way. Every unexpected noise makes them pause. The reactions are what matter most. You can hear it in their voices when something catches them off guard. The laughter gets thinner, the conversations shorten, and then there's that moment when Chris notices movement ahead. He doesn't overplay it, he just reacts. That change in tone is enough to let you know this isn't just nerves anymore. It feels personal, like something might actually be aware of them.
What the dude? I swear to God, on everything I caught it looked like a shadow just moved across. Oh my God. It looked like a human, or like, I don't know if there's someone out here. Someone walked across up there, that opening up there. What? I'm fucking shaking. I don't think I can play these back on here, but I'll put it on the screen for you guys. That was so clear. Bro, I don't know, that was wild. I don't think it just like disappeared, but I don't think that there's someone.
After that, it doesn't feel like they're trying to prove anything anymore. You can tell their focus shifts to just staying safe. And that's what really makes this one stay with you.
I can whistle too.
Me too.
What? Samantha? Can you show yourself for us? We just saw you move between the trees. Can you just walk towards us? One of these days we're gonna get a crazy apparition on camera. I hope it happens. And we got something earlier, but... Oh wow, there's so many openings here.
It's not about one big moment. It's about the way the night slowly starts to close in around them, until walking away feels like the only smart move. If you were there, would you keep pushing forward, or would you trust that feeling and call it? On Salish Sasquatch, the focus isn't just on legends. It's on the people whose lives were changed by encounters in the wilderness. Scott Taylor, a longtime BFRO field investigator, first entered Sasquatch research years before earning the title. His journey began with unsettling events in the Pacific Northwest, later known as the story of the Night Watchmen, when a quiet logging site became the stage for something far more disturbing than human trespassers.
2 trees, and it starts shaking these trees, and one of the trees, it completely knocked the tree over. Right by this stump over here, the little one was looking out, and he was an itty-bitty little guy, black, shiny, leathery looking face with amber colored eyes.
When the Night Watchmen arrived, their trailer settled beneath a scarred slope of freshly cut forest. Taylor approached the report with methodical precision, but he knew facts alone couldn't capture the unseen. In those shadowed nights, intuition mattered as much as measurement, and the forest held secrets no logic could fully explain.
The trailer had just been pulled in, they just got things set up, and they decided to come down here and fish in this pond. And so it was, late afternoon, and they were fishing, and just right across the pond, a Sasquatch vocalized real loud. And, they're just like, oh, what's that? And it kind of scared a few ducks. And then the Sasquatch back behind on the other side of them also vocalized, as if they were communicating back and forth, which they were.
On the first night, the Watchmen headed to the pond for a quiet evening of fishing. The calm shattered. A deep, guttural call echoed across the water, followed by a second, answering call from the trees. Fear gripped them. Fishing poles were abandoned, and they bolted to the car as the forest seemed alive with watching eyes.
Also vocalized, as if they were communicating back and forth, which they were. And that was enough for these people. So they grabbed their fishing poles, they threw them in the car, they got in their car, and they started taking off down the road. And something scared some ducks up, and the ducks were actually flying through the trees here and came out onto the road. One of them slammed into his driver's side.
The second encounter happened along a shadowed road in a freshly clear-cut forest, later called Eyes in the Clear Cut. Sweeping a small flashlight across the trees, they caught 3 pairs of glowing eyes. As the beam moved, the eyes darted and vanished, then silently crossed the road. There was no doubt, something intelligent, deliberate, and utterly unworldly was watching from the darkness.
They got up and the eyes moved to the other side, to the right side of this little road. And one stood up, full height. And then they realized that it wasn't a deer or something like that, and became again a little frightened. But they could see it, the light dance off the hair of the Sasquatches, and they could see that there were 3. There was a male, a female, and a juvenile. And so they had enough and decided to head back to their trailer.
On the dark road through the clear-cut forest, the night watchman swept a small flashlight across the shadows. 3 pairs of glowing eyes stared back, intelligent and deliberate. Then one figure rose to full height, unmistakably not deer, and the 3 shapes stood motionless, watching them from the darkness. Their trailer sat 40 yards away when heavy footsteps echoed nearby. One of them crept toward the sound, heart racing, and glimpsed a massive shape in the dim light.
And she was curious about it, so she walked from the road over this way a little bit further. And there's a spring down here that you can't see, but at that time you could, see where it was. And what she saw about maybe 50 yards away was a great big butt. And she could tell that it was something bent over drinking from the spring, and she wasn't sure what it was. At first she thought maybe it was an elk.
He threw a rock, and the creature seized 2 trees, shaking them violently until one crashed to the ground, its sheer power sending him stumbling back in shock. After the shot cracked through the night, a deep, low call answered it, a male checking on the female who had toppled the tree. Moments later, the massive figures melted into the darkness, leaving the witnesses huddled in their trailer as the forest fell eerily silent around them. This one comes from DMAX UK, and they head out into the Pine Barrens to look into the whole Jersey Devil legend. Now, whether you believe in that story or not, that forest already feels like the kind of place where you wouldn't want to be alone at night. It's endless trees, no city noise, no lights in the distance, just quiet.
It is an amazing view.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, it is just green pine trees all the way in every direction to the horizon. We got our work cut out for us, Jess.
Based on reports, there's a good chance that the so-called Jersey Devil lives somewhere between the Bodine Tavern and this tower. By finding him in this, that's a needle in a haystack.
They start up high, looking out over miles of woods, trying to get a feel for the area. At first, it honestly feels like a normal exploration. They're talking through ideas, pointing things out, just taking it all in. Nothing feels tense yet. It's more curiosity than anything.
Yeah, I mean, in an area that is completely uniform with pine trees, anything that... Jess, you heard that, yeah?
Yeah, I did. What was it?
I have no idea. As it's getting sundown, a lot of birds start to call when they go to roost for the night, so...
That didn't sound like a bird.
There's about 300 species that can be found here, Jess, so...
Do any of those 300 species of bird growl?
I actually have no clue.
But once the sun starts dropping, you can feel a shift. Just that natural moment where daylight leaves and everything looks the same, but feels different. The woods get still, conversations slow down. You start noticing little sounds you would have ignored earlier.
You see anything down that way?
Not seeing anything. Wait. Look at that. Wow.
Oh, check this out.
Are you kidding me? Look at the size of this thing.
It's some sort of building.
Yeah.
I mean, it just keeps going. Look, there's another wall.
They move to a spot that gives them a wide view and decide to stay there through the night. Cameras go up. Different tools come out. It feels controlled at first, like they've done this before and know what they're doing. Then something small interrupts that comfort. A sound. A movement. Big enough to make both of them react. And that's the interesting part. It's not about what the sound was. It's about how fast their tone changes. You can hear that split second where curiosity turns into alertness.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll perch over there.
Good visibility to the tree line.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna go all around the periphery. Have the thermal imaging cameras. We'll shine it up in the trees. I get a heat signature of an animal running around up there, flying around up there. Maybe it will give us a clue as to what it is that people are seeing when they think it's the Jersey Devil.
I also have the Fox Pro. I can send out some calls and see if we can draw something in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We just gotta remember though, whatever people are seeing out here, it's scaring the heck out of them. We gotta be extra careful.
Well, yeah, we're calling the Jersey Devil. Of course I'm gonna be careful. I don't want to get my head ripped off.
All right. Good luck here.
Oh, yeah.
And then now.
You got your walkie?
Later on, after things go quiet again, something passes close enough to get a real reaction, not a staged one. You know that feeling when something surprises you and your body responds before your brain does? It's like that.
Something up here. Come on, what was it? Look at that. I just saw some bats flying by. To see it fly across the night sky with the thermal is amazing because they're really hard to see with just a flashlight. But this thing, they are lighting up. Amazing.
Okay, I've got the night vision camera set up, and I'm ready to send out some calls with the fox.
They check what they captured, and there's a quick glimpse of something. It doesn't answer anything clearly. It just adds more questions. One of them tries to lean toward a simple explanation. The other isn't fully convinced.
What the heck was that? That was Jess, come on. So what happened?
Something flew right over me.
What the heck? I'm gonna check the thermal camera. Maybe it's still here.
You seeing anything?
Nothing.
And that's what makes this one stick. It's not about seeing a creature standing there in full view. It's about those quick moments that don't line up perfectly, the kind you replay in your head later. Let me ask you something.
And whatever it was, I'm certain it was no bat. Because while I couldn't see it, I could definitely tell it was something extremely large.
I'm just so pissed that it didn't just land on the top of that ledge so that we could get a picture of it.
I don't think it's gonna be that easy, Jess. At the end of a long night, I'm certain of two things. One, something scared the crap out of Jess, and two, there are bats all over these woods. I recorded some of them on my thermal camera. I have to believe that is what Jess encountered out here.
If you were out there in total darkness and something moved that close above you, would you brush it off easily? Or would that moment stay with you long after you left? Sometimes it's not about proving the legend. Sometimes it's just about realizing how different a place feels once the lights are gone. This last one comes from Animal Planet, from Finding Bigfoot, and this one isn't really about a loud encounter or some clear sighting. It's about a photo, just one photo, and the way 4 people can look at the same image and walk away with completely different feelings about it.
He's got these photographs of what he says is a Sasquatch. Bobo says he thinks this is real. At least we have to go check this out. No matter what happens with this photo, this is a great place for us to come.
They head back to Humboldt County, which already has that reputation. Tall redwoods, thick canopy, that deep green light that makes everything feel older than it is. If you've ever seen that area, you know it has a certain mood to it. It doesn't need help feeling mysterious.
If you're a Bigfoot.
The reason we're going here is I got 2 pictures from a guy, John Johnson. He took last summer. Took me a lot of wrangling to get this guy even to show me the pictures. He was real hesitant, wasn't looking for publicity, just a regular Joe that likes to get outdoors.
I got a call from a good buddy of mine last summer whose cousin knew a guy that took photos of a Bigfoot. We tried to do a recreation setup where he saw it, but I never could figure out where it was, how big it was. And with the team here, I think we get lined up exactly and figure out what this photo really is.
Tell you, when I look at it, it looks like a moss-covered stump to me.
There's no stump there.
But certainly the photographs are compelling enough for us to go down and check out the location.
When they arrive at the exact location, things get more focused. They don't rush. They take their time lining things up, trying to understand perspective, distance, light. And here's the part I like. Nobody pretends to be certain. Even the ones who lean one way still question it. Standing there in that forest, the picture feels different than it does on a screen. You can sense that from the way they talk. It's one thing to analyze pixels. It's another to stand where it happened and realize how easy it would be for something to blend in.
Okay, Clip, it's somewhere right in here.
As far as the size goes, is Bobo much smaller, a little smaller, or how would you judge it?
He's a lot smaller.
He's a lot smaller?
Yeah.
You're apparently a lot smaller than what he saw.
Copy.
There's nothing over there that could be confused as the Sasquatch in the photograph, is there?
No, it's completely clear right here.
Here we have two photographs side by side. Your original with one of Bobo's recreations.
Well, to me, it's quite readily apparent that this is not the same place. Because you see, this one is today, and this stump wouldn't have gotten itself there since August of last year, and this stump is clearly not here.
As they compare angles and details, the split becomes clearer. One side sees something that doesn't quite match the surroundings, the other sees something that fits perfectly once you look at it a certain way. And neither side is dismissive, they just honestly see it differently.
I would argue that this white thing here is the overexposed stump, as is evident by this black line that goes up that we can see here as well.
I don't see this at all.
Cliff is trying to argue that the stump on the right-hand side is visible in both photos. But I strongly disagree with that, and I think it's one of many glaring inconsistencies in these photos when they're side by side. This is clearly not the same view that John took the photo of.
Later, when they head out at night, the mood shifts again. The woods feel alive in that quiet way they do after dark. They spread out, call into the trees, and wait. Those waiting moments are almost more intense than any big reveal. You're listening for something you're not even sure exists. Nothing jumps out. Nothing gives them a clean answer. And that's kind of the point. This one isn't about proving a creature is there.
There's a bunch of elk in here. Boy, you can sure tell you're in a protected area because they're not jamming yet.
Renee, what's the status over there?
Bobo and I just made it on top of this ridge here. We're in a good spot to definitely start making vocalizations.
Yeah, let her rip, and if we hear him, we'll let you know.
Fire one off, Bobo. Done.
It's about how the same piece of evidence can pull people in opposite directions. It's about doubt, belief, and everything in between. If you were standing there looking at that photo in the middle of those redwoods, which side would you lean toward? Would you trust your first impression? Or would you keep second-guessing it? Sometimes the mystery isn't what's in the forest. It's what we bring with us when we walk into it. In the latest episode on DMAX UK, the team faced a flood of astonishing eyewitness accounts, each more mysterious than the last. 3 stories in particular captured the investigators' attention, demanding a deeper dive into the unknown. With so many reports coming in, the mystery had only just begun, and the most chilling encounters were still waiting to be uncovered.
There was a tremendous number of sightings that came forth during this meeting. We listened to every single witness. However, 3 of them really stood out to us, and those are the ones we want to investigate.
Well, we've got our plan figured out then.
I think we do. Boy, was that a lot. But
Man, so many
it's
reports.
good. We do know where to go.
The BFRO team visited the Muncie, Delaware Indian Reservation to meet Chief Little Soldier, a respected leader with a deep connection to the land. For years, he had reported strange visitors and discovered mysterious tracks, passing down knowledge from generations. To uncover the truth, the investigators first listened to someone who had witnessed it all firsthand.
This particular reservation has had Bigfoots visiting it for several years now. Chief Little Soldier says that he hears them on a fairly regular basis and even finds footprints around. This is the property where most of the Bigfoot action has been happening lately?
Yes, we've had all kind of activity.
Native Americans have been living with the land and with Sasquatches for as long as they've been on this continent. They know far more about the local Sasquatches than any Bigfoot researcher nearby would. We need to talk to Native Americans no matter where we go.
While marking trails, the witness heard a sudden snap and spotted a massive figure staring back. In an instant, the creature bolted down the ravine with astonishing speed, vanishing almost as quickly as it appeared. Nearby, Chief Little Soldier, busy driving a post, witnessed the incredible display, leaving everyone in awe of the being's sheer power and agility.
Is this the spot?
This is the spot. I was putting in trail markers, and I heard this branch break. I saw a creature that was immensely huge looking back at me. It took off down the side of the ravine. I ran toward it. There was no way I would have any chance of catching up with it.
Oh, wow. Now, how fast do you think would you say it was going?
Well, I know he made it from when I turned here, he made it down to that ravine in probably less than 6 steps.
Wow, so nice big long steps in, huh?
Cliff noted that while Sasquatch sightings are rare, clear daylight encounters are even more extraordinary. The witness, long aware of unusual happenings on the land, recalled decades of strange sounds and fleeting shadows. Finally, seeing the creature on sacred terrain brought him not fear, but a profound sense of connection, as if he had touched a living thread of the ancient stories he grew up hearing.
Nothing that you've told me so far is really out of the ordinary for such an extraordinary event such as a Sasquatch sighting. And you're so lucky to have such a good look at it in like later in the day, but definitely daylights and relatively close. A lot of people don't get an opportunity to see him this close. You're a very fortunate man. I have to ask, what do you think about the whole event?
I've been aware since '98 of the strange things that occur on the land here and the sightings and the noise that we've heard. It reminded me a lot of the ancient stories that have been told to me, and the fact that I'd actually seen one here on our ceremonial land, and gave me a feeling.
The team returned to the Salt Fork area to meet Tim Stover, a hunter who had experienced a remarkable sighting from his tree stand around this same season. Before heading to Tim, they picked up Bobo, who had been exploring the area in recent days. His presence promised valuable insights. He might have heard or seen something in the very spot where the earlier encounter had occurred.
Today we're going back to the Salt Fork area to meet with Tim Stover. He was the hunter who had a sighting when he was up in a tree stand about this time of year. We want to pick up Bobo first though. Bobo's been going around in Salt Fork for the last few days, so he probably has information to bear and may have even heard something in this same spot.
Tim Stover, known in the Bigfoot community for his honesty and radio show, had never forgotten the day that changed everything. 2 decades ago, while perched in a familiar tree stand, a sudden crack from the woods drew his gaze. What he expected to be a deer was something far larger, a massive figure standing silently, staring back at him. The moment left a lasting impression that haunted him ever since.
Tim's a fairly well-known guy in the Bigfoot community. He hosts an internet radio show. He's known as a good, honest guy, straight shooter, so I'm pretty stoked to get back out there and see where it was.
Were you up in the tree stand when it happened?
Yes, this exact tree right here 20 years ago in 1992 is where it all happened. I was up in the tree stand. I could hear a stick break to my 2 o'clock position. I thought, well, it's got to be a deer moving through there. When I looked over there that thing was standing there.
Tim was one of the most credible witnesses the team had encountered. The Sasquatch he described had an unusually light coat, setting it apart from most reports. Sightings of this pale variant have surfaced repeatedly in the area, hinting at a strange consistency that fascinated and unsettled the investigators.
I find Tim to be a very credible witness. The Sasquatch that he saw does not conform to people's expectations about Sasquatch, but this particular color of Sasquatch, the lighter variety, has been seen again.
Could these repeated sightings of the pale Sasquatch indicate a hidden population, or is something even stranger lurking in the shadows? Exploring with Angelo returns with a chilling solo expedition into the infamous Bigfoot Woods, a remote forest where strange encounters and unexplained evidence have fueled rumors for months. Traveling light and camping alone, Angelo is ready to confront whatever still lurks between the trees. The night ahead may reveal far more than he is prepared for.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new adventure. Back to the woods alone. We're going in. We're here at the Bigfoot Woods. The reason why we call it that,
because we think there's a Bigfoot here. I have not been here in months now at this time. And the last couple of times we came in looking for Bigfoot, and I feel like we got some proof, but I don't think we're done.
Driven by a single goal, Angelo presses deeper, determined to uncover the truth behind the legend. Somewhere beyond the trees, something moves. The air feels different, as if the forest itself is drawing him closer. Then, a sudden sharp sound breaks the silence, sending a chill through the night. Whatever is out there is no longer hiding.
Find this Sasquatch out here. My goal is to honestly catch him on camera if we can. There's something moving out there. See, whatever it is, and this is kind of interesting, it always seems like there's something off in this direction. I just heard something. What was that?
The sound returns, low and unnerving, far too close for comfort. Angelo scans the darkness, unease tightening its grip. He came seeking a legend, but now a more disturbing thought creeps in. Maybe it's not a creature at all. Maybe someone, or something, is hiding, watching from the shadows. The presence is real, and it is closing in.
That was that voice again. I'm telling you, we come out here looking for Bigfoot, I swear we're gonna run into some like serial killer living out here. I mean, like I said before, it could just be like a homeless person living out here. I don't know. But just based on that one experience. Hello?
This exact stretch of forest refuses to stay quiet. Time and again, unexplained activity has been recorded here. Angelo is convinced this is no ordinary forest. The signs are real, encounters undeniable, and one thing is certain. Something is watching from the shadows.
I don't know what it is with this particular spot, but we have captured quite a bit of activity. I guess Bigfoot activity is what you could call it. So we do have some proof already that there's something out here. Something is 100% going on.
A sharp thud cuts through the night. A rock tumbles unnaturally across the path, as if thrown. Moments later, a coyote's cry punctuates the darkness, masking the unseen presence. Every instinct tells Angelo this is deliberate. Something unseen is aware of him, and the forest seems to hold its breath.
Okay. Something just... That was a rock. That was a rock. That was a coyote, but that was a rock. Something 100% just like threw a rock in this direction. Okay, are we under attack right now? Quiet down over there.
Forced to change route, Angelo pushes onward through steep terrain, nearing the summit. But the forest interrupts again. From the same ground behind him, near a decaying hollow tree, a sound carries unmistakably. The same location, the same disturbance. Whatever is out there is marking territory, letting him know it is watching.
I'm gonna have to find another place to do that. Oh, I heard something. Man. I think I almost made it to the top. I think there's a bit more to go, but again, in the exact same area, literally right back there, I keep hearing something. And I do know it's the same spot because we stopped here. This rotten old tree.
Was it just the wind stirring the trees, or something far more deliberate, lurking just beyond sight? The forest may have fallen silent for now, but its presence will linger in Angelo's mind long after he leaves. Flash of beauty. Bigfoot revealed. Returns to a remote cabin where the forest feels alive with unexplained activity. Residents report noises, fleeting shapes, and moments that leave neighbors shaken. What once seemed isolated has escalated into a hot zone of activity, hinting at a presence that observes, waits, and reveals itself in the most unsettling ways.
We have had stuff happen outside of the cabin 24/7, and it kind of comes and goes. Like we're in a category right now where it's a hot zone of activity happening here. Like last night
Yeah.
was stuff going on. The neighbors were freaking out, and mainly with just noises, but everybody's kind of seen something.
Heard something.
What was the first thing you remembered as far as like the trickster activity happening?
A secluded cabin has long been haunted by an unseen presence. Rich, a longtime resident, lives under its shadow. His daughter once glimpsed it, and the family has felt the brush charged with unseen energy. Knocks and objects moving in the night have left them terrified. Though Rich has never seen it himself, he knows something watches and waits in the darkness.
History that there's been like a visual sighting by his daughter. They were bluff charged through the brush before they cleared it out in that area down below. That he's heard like knocks and sounds of things like getting hit or smacked or moved, I think, but I don't think he himself had a visual sighting out here. The previous people that lived in the cabin that we're in, which is, you know, other family members, would have the walls smacked by something in the middle of the night that freaked them out.
The next day, a small triangular piece of gravel drew attention. At first, it seemed ordinary, but Rich found it again, neatly resting atop a log, strangely cleaned and deliberately placed. The gesture hinted at a presence watching, leaving subtle marks that defy explanation.
And then I think it was the next day, I look outside and there's a piece of gravel that's somewhat triangular shaped, but it wasn't, I was like, I remember it being more perfect, and maybe it wasn't as good as I thought it was, and I was about to like throw it. And then Rich found that rock down there sitting on top of a log, and it was cleaned off.
It began with small signs. Objects slightly moved, subtle disturbances. But soon, the sounds grew impossible to ignore. Close by, deliberate single knocks echoed against the wood, sharp and distinct, like a heavy bat swinging. Each strike carried unmistakable weight, as if something unseen was announcing its presence with careful precision.
And we should say that there is a rock quarry not too far from us, and periodically you got good old boys going down there unloading clips. But that wasn't this. These were like really close wood knocks, and they were singles. They wasn't like, you know, a pistol or a shot. It was like a single wood knock, like a Louisville Slugger wood knock.
Among the strangest signs was a dark imprint on the rear cabin wall. Resembling a human hand pressed and burned into the wood, it lingered, a silent witness to the inexplicable presence around the cabin. Suddenly, movement caught their eyes along the road. A shadow shifted in the underbrush, low and cautious, barely revealing itself. Moments later, it slipped across the path and vanished, leaving a sense that something unseen was silently stalking the area.
There it is.
What?
I think. Yep, there it's moving.
What?
Yeah, there it is. It's on the right side of the road. You see it?
Yeah. It crossed the road, and then remember there's that section where it's like, it's on, crouching behind kind of like the fern, or not the fern, but the bushes on the right side.
The final shot.
Yeah, I think that happened after, because it crossed, and then you were like, is it still there? And then we saw it.
Faint, piercing cries drifted from deep in the thick woods. At times resembling a human scream, they carried an unmistakable otherworldly quality, forcing the group to stop and listen in tense silence. As they edged into the forest, the sound abruptly vanished. 20 minutes of piercing wails had closed in on them, only to disappear as they approached. Peering through the underbrush, all that remained was silence. and a creeping sense that something had intentionally slipped away, just out of reach. Finally, the sounds drifted away, as if the forest itself revealed, then withdrew. Whispers lingered, eerily articulate, yet nothing human stirred. Every rustle, every call hinted at a presence watching just beyond sight, leaving the air thick with tension.
Different animal sounds, and then it gave itself up by just going off into...
I don't know what my favorite is. Mine has to either be the little girl or the talking, because we know there's no little girl in the woods.
After knocks in the night, fleeting shadows, strange cries, and marks that defy explanation, the forest seems to breathe with a presence just beyond sight. But what force has claimed these woods, and who or what truly watches from the darkness? So now I'm curious, which one stuck with you the most? Was it something you could explain, or something that still doesn't sit right? If you're still with us, don't go anywhere. The next story might just change how you look at the dark,